Welcome to another episode of Woman Witness Podcast, The Stories at the Well, where we bring together women who are out there making a positive difference and an impact in their lives and their communities and the other lives that are around them. Today, I have such a special topic for you and such an amazing guest that I cannot wait to get into today's episode. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit about our guest today. So, Jearlean Taylor is an awe inspiring public speaker, entrepreneur, fashion model, author. A Baltimore native, she bravely overcame cancer and now uses her voice to motivate and inspire others. Jearlean is committed to empowering those with cancer by reminding them that their lives are not defined by their circumstances. Her accomplishments have been featured on national platforms such as Good Morning America, Tamron Hall Show, Essence Magazines, and other news outlets. One of her amazing books that I cannot wait to talk to her about is Pretty Girl Blues. So, without further ado, I want to introduce my amazing, beautiful guest today, Jearlean Taylor. Hi, Jearlean.
Hi. Hello, Leah.
Hi, welcome to the well. Welcome to the well. Thank you so much for being here, Jearlean. I know you could have been anywhere, but I'm glad that you chose to come and bring your story, bring your truth here to this well today. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it. It's an honor to be here, and it's a blessing as well to be here. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. We really appreciate it. Jearlean, I want you to jump in and tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Again, I'm Jearlean Taylor. I am a Baltimore native. Yay, Ravens. So I had to get that out. I am a cancer survivor. I'm a fashion model, author, entrepreneur, CEO. I wear many hats. And I'm not
Yes.
complaining at all because, I thank God for opening those doors and just to see where He will have me to go with those gifts and talents.
Yes, I love that so much, Jearlean, because I know your story, but I'm going to give you an opportunity
Yeah,
to share your story with our listening audience,
sure.
because I do believe that sometimes when we are in these situations where we are not, I'm not going to call them situations, but when we have the opportunity and the blessing to be able to wear many hats, I
Mhm.
feel that we started from somewhere. And
Yes.
somewhere down the road or somewhere early on, in most cases, we were faced with circumstances that told us we could not. So
Yeah.
I look at all the different hats that you wear and I say, you go, girl, because
Thank
I'm sure you're going to share with us that you were faced with you cannot. Tell us a little bit about you and tell
Mhm.
us a little bit about how you found out that you were diagnosed with
Sure.
the
I just described all of those things about me, fashion model,
Mhm.
author, entrepreneur, all of those things. But before I was all of those things, right, I was depressed. I was, had thoughts of not so good
Mm.
thoughts. I felt alone. I felt left out. I was stricken with a disease that kill
Mm.
people every day. And I
Yeah.
tell people, my journey kind of started 3 years old in the backyard playing with my brothers and my sisters. And my oldest sister noticed that there was blood in my clothes. And
Mm.
it was not just a scrape of the knee. Let's go in the house and put a band-aid on it. I was bleeding actually as though I had a menstrual period. And of
Mm.
course, my sister rushed me in the house to my parents. They immediately rushed me to the hospital. And it was
Mm.
days of testing. You have this 3-year old, she's bleeding and it's not
Right.
stopping. Where is it coming from? What is the cause of it? And it was days of
Mm.
testing, MRIs, X-rays, you name it. My sister said
Right.
I probably had every test done. And it was days later, and they discovered that I had a rare form of cancer called
Wow.
rhabdomyosarcoma, and it's a cancer that's in the soft tissue. And
Mm.
I actually had vaginal cancer,
Oh,
and
wow.
you can just imagine. And my parents were believers; they're now passed
Mhm.
away. Um,
Mm.
were believers, and of course, they believed in the power of prayer, but at the same time,
Yeah.
wondering what are we going
Right.
to do with this child? What's going to happen? What's the long run? Where's that going to lead to? And
Right.
at age 3, I started chemotherapy, radiation, of course, on top of surgery. And this is the blessing. A year after my
Mm.
diagnosis and treatments, I was cancer free.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait, say that one more time, Jeremy. You said a year after the
after
diagnosis?
diagnosis and my treatments, I was cancer free. But I guess people can say, I looked at it as a teenager. The downside is because of where the tumors were located, I was forced to have what they call ostomy surgery. And people's like, ostomy surgery? What is an
Yeah.
ostomy? An ostomy surgery is an opening in your body for the discharge of your waste. So
Mm.
nothing operated as it normally does, and so I was forced to get two ostomy bags. Waste can
Mm.
come out, and so that was since the age of 3 years old. It was
Oh,
permanent.
wow.
Some people are able to get a reversal. That
Mhm.
wasn't my case, and so you have, yeah, you're cancer free. Um,
Mhm.
but at the same time, this child is 3 years old and she has two ostomy bags, right? How
Mm.
do we prepare her for that?
Right.
How
Right.
do we prepare her for that? And listen, those prayers work,
Yes.
cancer free. Listen, let's say hallelujah for that.
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
Again, you're still dealing with a medical circumstances
Yeah.
that's permanent, and you just wonder how is my child going to survive? What does her future look like? That was I guess you could say a blow there
Yeah.
with that.
Now tell me, one thing I can definitely hear from the beginning of our conversation is that you were brought up in the faith and your
Yeah.
parents believed
Yes.
in.
Yes.
And one thing I can tell about your parents, and I'm sorry to hear about your loss, and
Thank you.
um I know that they imparted something good in you because I can tell that they found a way
Yes.
around your circumstances and helped you navigate through it, which is why I want to ask you about, you said you used to say, why me, why cancer, why the
Yes.
ostomy bags, and
Yes.
now you say, why not me?
Yes. Yes.
I wrote a chapter about this in one of my first books,
Really?
okay? Why
Yes.
not me? So tell me how you arrived at why not me. That's a lot of why me, why me, why me, and how
Oh,
did you arrive at why not me?
yes. And listen, it took some time for me to get to that point where I say, well, why not me? Because all my life, that's all I said. Why me? Why me? Why me? Why
Mm,
cancer? Why the ostomy bags? Why, my emotions up and down, and just so much.
right.
I can go into this, that, and the other. I know we don't have time, but one thing that really, really helped me, Leah, was me taking that walk down the aisle at
Mm,
church one Sunday and giving my life
yeah.
to Christ, right? Because when you try everything.
Yeah. I'm with
Listen,
you.
God said, come to me and I will show you. I will show you you're going to be able to dream and have aspirations. Now, my
Yeah.
mom, which was an intricate part, my dad too, but my mom always kept instilling in me. She always stayed in my ear. You're not defined by your ostomy bags. You're going to be able to do and be and live. But when you're a teenager, oftentimes,
You don't want to hear that.
listen, it goes in one ear and out the other.
Right. Like, mom, you
But
don't
my
know.
mom, she always told me, and she had a really, really strong discernment, and she knew. She's like, Jearlean, you're gonna have to tell your story. You're gonna have to share. And I'm like, it's my
Mm,
secret, and I don't want to
right.
tell anybody,
Mm,
you know. But
yeah.
when I took that walk, and just God began to speak to me, like, you're gonna be great. You're gonna do great things. I'm with you all the way. That
Yeah.
Christian walk. It's sometimes it's that long walk, and sometimes you don't see light at the end of the tunnel. But He said, "I am the light." Right?
Yes. Yep.
Follow me. I am the light. I'm gonna show you. And it's like, okay, again,
Yep.
when you try everything, Leah, try Christ.
Yes.
It took some time,
Yes.
but He showed me, when God shows you your why, right? I question it,
Woo.
why me? Why me? And He says, this is your why. Your
Yeah.
testimony is your why. You're going to help heal people. You're going to be sharing with people. You're going to be making a difference. And when
Mm.
He opened that first door, I was like, oh, He ain't lying.
Okay. You know what? Listen, Jearlean, I'm with you. And listen, tell me what that, if you don't mind sharing,
Sure.
what was that first door for you?
So that first door, I had a very, very good friend, my neighborhood friend back then, and he, went to his church, and that church was doing, they do newsletters, what's
Okay.
going on, what's happening in the church, what's happening around the community.
Yeah.
He was like, he grew up with me, so he knew. He's like,
Mhm.
Jearlean, why don't you tell your story in this newsletter? And I'm like,
What?
wait a minute. So
Wow.
really kind of like my first time opening up. And some of my close friends growing up didn't even know. And so
Wow.
he said, come on, I promise you, you're going to make it.
Yeah.
And I kind of did an excerpt of my story. And Leah,
Yeah.
what happened was God showing me why. People had such a totally different reaction than what I thought.
Yeah.
So I didn't want the people feeling sorry or woe is me.
Right.
It was totally different. People's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that. We grew up together. You never said anything.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story, because
Yeah.
oftentimes we never know what people are going through. Maybe it might not be cancer, or you might not have an ostomy bag, but it is something. You've gone through depression,
Absolutely.
gone through different emotions. And so when I shared
Yeah.
for the first time, I was so surprised of the reaction. It was like
Yeah.
I was looking for acceptance, and it wasn't really people accepting me. It was people listening to my story. You know,
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
that first time, I needed that really, because what
Yeah.
happened to Leah, it was healing for me. I was able to talk about something that I kept inside for so long. It was that internal healing, like, Jearlean, it's okay. You're not
Yeah.
alone, and so
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
good for me. That was good.
I like that, Jearlean, and it's so true. I love pushing the person. I love the story with Hannah. So, you talk about the Penina, how she was pushed into her purpose. And I feel like in that moment, you were pushed into your purpose. And now let me tell you, because I'm a huge believer of writing. Like,
Yeah.
listen, I mean,
Yes.
for those of us who's writing our diaries, have you ever went back and read your old diary, by the way?
Yeah. Listen, I
Woo,
started
I was like, I was going through it. I
writing. I
need some
know,
help.
right?
I need some help.
Yes.
Which I did. But, I always think like writing is our first form of therapy. So when
Mhm,
you said that your friend presented this newsletter, so
mhm.
and you wrote a little bit about it. So did they
Yes.
open the door and give you the opportunity to speak about it, or was that
Oh,
just that one thing at
well,
that
just,
moment?
just that one thing at that moment.
And that's
But then,
fine. Mhm.
like, God was like, okay, it's your story, Jearlean. Nobody can tell your story like you can,
Yeah.
but it belongs to somebody else. And so it really kind of railroad opened other doors for me to do public speaking. Now you can write all day, but when it's
Yeah.
public speaking and you're in front of people, your peers, or a big medical staff, nurses, doctors. I mean, I've spoken and with doctors, and I mean, some big stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
but I believe through all of my trials and my tribulations, like, God prepares us, right, for that
Mhm.
next destination. Whether you're speaking in front of 10 people or 10,000 people, right? He
100%.
prepares us, right? And so,
Right.
listen, I thank God for that preparation.
And you know what? Okay, so I'm glad you said this because the well is all about bringing your stories to the well. It's all
Yeah,
about giving your testimony. And one thing I did love that you said that you tell the story, but it's not your story.
right.
I don't know how you meant that, but let me tell you how I took it. When you tell the
Okay.
story, correct me if I'm wrong, are you saying that when you tell the story, you're telling a story that may belong to somebody else because they may be going through it too? Is that
Absolutely.
where you were going with
Uh,
that? Because I love that so
Yes,
much.
absolutely. And like I
I love
said,
that.
nobody can tell your story like you can, and it belongs to you. It really does belong to you, but it also belongs to someone else. Now, I'm very, very well known in the ostomy community, right? Right.
Right.
My story belongs to them because they're walking in my shoes.
They
We're walking
relate.
in each other's shoes. Like, they understand when I say something like this or that. They're like, oh my gosh, you're so right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
opens up a whole nother door,
Yeah.
minister to the cancer community. I mean, I was so young when I had cancer, but
Yeah.
then I had my sisters that can say, oh yeah, she was doing this and she did that, and you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
just sharing your story out there. It just, it's a blessing. And God was like,
Yeah.
this is a part of your purpose too. This is
Yeah.
a part of your purpose, and you got to walk in it. And sometimes we got to do it afraid
Yep.
because we
Yeah.
got to do it afraid. I
It,
was scared, talking and speaking in front of people. And so I was like, Jearlean, just pretend they're your girlfriends and your good friends. And so it made it, much, much easier. It was good. It was good. Still is.
yeah. Geraldine, I love the fact that you say to see the outer experience, no one could ever tell that I live with these adversities. You don't have to be your circumstances.
Yeah.
And you also said, I do not look like what I deal with 24/7 days a week. I'm not supposed to.
Right.
We are not our circumstances.
Right.
That spoke to me.
Yes.
Talk to me and talk to some of the women and talk to some of our listeners about what you meant in that moment when you said we are not our circumstances.
Yeah, every day, Leah, and to our viewers as well, every day I wake up for the past 57 years. Okay. Every
Mhm.
day I wake up and I look at myself. We getting dressed, we putting on our clothes. But every day I see two ostomy bags on my stomach, right? And they're not going anywhere. They're permanent. They're not going anywhere. But
Mm.
even with other women or men, maybe too, we got the little fat arms and we got,
Yeah,
different things. My hair's not done today. My makeup is not on right or whatever. But
yeah.
what if we decide to look beyond that? Right. And so
Mm.
that's why I say we're not defined by our circumstances. My mom always told me that, Jearlean, you're not defined by your circumstance. And I tell people often in my ostomy community that we are more than. We are more than
Mm.
ostomies. We are more than that pimple on our face. We are
Mm.
more than, we picked up a little weight, we lost a little weight.
Yeah.
We're more than that. And a lot of times we have to look at the internal, right? We have to look at
Mm.
that, right? Because
Yeah.
that's where, Holy Spirit dwells and God is, so we have
Yeah.
to be on our circumstances because we're more than that. We're a
Yeah.
cancer survivor, but we're more than survivors. We're thrivers. We're overcomers. And so I look at that a lot. And I have to be honest with everyone. Sometimes, I do look in the mirror and I go back to that why me. I go back to,
Yeah.
yeah, but these are my circumstances right before me. But Jearlean, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, God said. That's in
Yeah.
his word, Leah. That's in his word. And a
Yeah.
lot of times we have to believe it. We read it, but do
Yeah.
we believe it? And I really had to start digesting and believing what he said about me,
Yeah.
right? What does he say about you, Leah? What does he say about you, viewers? What does he say? He does say that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. There's no weapon that's going to form that's going to prosper. Whatever that weapon is was my weapon, my ostomies, was it cancer? Maybe,
Mm.
right? But it won't prosper,
Yeah.
and so, it,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, Geraldine, tell me real quick for our listening audience, do you usually do your speaking? Do you do it in front of the ostomy community, or have you spoken elsewhere in
No,
other places, other
I'm
platforms?
speaking in front of, mostly, I would say mostly the ostomy community, yes. But I'm speaking at hospitals, the medical team. You have
Yeah.
ostomy nurses at the hospital. They want
Yeah.
to bring some motivation for their patients. I'm speaking to young people. I have a Christian-based modeling company. Just last October, I traveled to South Africa. And South
Whoa.
Africa for 2 weeks, I spoke there. Like, God,
Yes.
me. And God's like,
Yes.
what?
Yes, you.
No,
Yes, you.
no, I have a variety of audiences that I'm speaking in front
Yeah.
of. And it's mostly, medical people that I'm speaking in front of, but I'm speaking to everyday people too.
Yeah.
I'm a
And
socialite on social media, so I'm speaking to them, But I think, I speak to inspire people and to
yeah.
motivate. Again, just telling them, again, you're not defined by your circumstances. You are more than, you are not alone. And I use my testimony and my journey to relay that.
Good. And that's great. That's amazing. And that's where I was getting at because I just did a podcast a couple of weeks ago. I only do one teaching a month because I want to get all of my ladies in at the well. And we are very blessed in that area. So we are able to get a lot of women in. But my last one I did where I was talking about the lame paralyzed man.
Hmm.
And I hear what you were saying when you said that you're not your circumstances. And I always, every time I get an opportunity, I'm always going to be a witness. And
Yeah,
you said something about when you look in the mirror and you have to still, push past some of those thoughts. And you know
yeah,
what? I want to talk to us who may be carrying around baggage as
yeah,
well. And it
yeah,
may not be visual, but
right.
if we were to be honest and look at ourselves and see it deep down inside and say, you
Hmm.
know what, I'm still carrying back this abuse. I'm still carrying
Yeah,
back this,
yes.
this, all this trauma that I dealt with. I know you already spoke on it, but talk to some of these women and men,
Hmm.
listeners out there, Jearlean. What advice would you give us to say, you know what? Yeah, my stuff is not visible, but it's there and it's
Yeah,
heavy
yeah.
and it hurts and it's ugly.
And
Talk
I
to
think,
talk to me about that.
Leah, oftentimes I have this T-shirt and it says, "I claim my baggage." So I have the word bag because, I said, I
I
claim
like that.
my
Yeah.
baggage. A lot of times we don't claim our baggage, right? And then what happens is we wind up carrying it to the next destination because we don't settle with what was behind us, right? And that's some baggage. Listen, we all got baggage, right? But we have to kind of deal with it though, because sometimes we like to sweep it underneath of the rug, but it's
Yeah.
still there. What if we come face to face with it? What if we claim it? What if we go get help? What if we speak to a therapist about that baggage? That they will help us, or, us, God Almighty, God, can you take this baggage from me? I'm laying my burdens at the altar. Can you just take it? And God was like, give it to me. I
Yeah.
died for you all. I died,
Yep.
sacrificed. And so
Yeah.
I think we have to learn how to deal with it before we move on. Get
Ooh.
some healing. Get some healing from that. However, you may want to get healing again through therapy. Now, for me, my therapy was my church, my fellowship, listening to my
Yeah.
pastor, the sermons, might have been a prayer
Mm.
team or the dance ministry that it gave me something,
Yeah.
to heal from that baggage. Could have been Bible study. And so
Mhm.
I think we have to learn how to deal with it. Do we want to claim it? No, because sometimes it comes with hurt. It comes with so many different emotions. That's where my depression came from. This is where this came from. And
Mm.
so we don't want to revisit that, right?
Yeah.
But me personally, I think it's necessary for your personal healing. You might have a little bit left, something in that baggage, you might have a little something left there, and that's okay because people heal in their time and in their way. But oftentimes,
Mm.
the saying goes, Leah, I'm sick and tired of being sick and
Sick and
tired,
tired. Come
right?
on.
And it might come from that baggage that you're carrying.
It's
It's
heavy.
it's a heavy load. Don't you
Yeah.
want to get rid of it?
Yep.
So I just kind of, again, I learned to claim it, heal from it,
Mhm.
and move on and move forward because there's so much more further ahead, for us
Yeah.
all. Yeah, definitely.
I like that, Jearlean. You said something that I want to just go back and visit and highlight. You said that, talking to someone
Yes.
and being around a good community of
Yeah.
people. And you also, the most important thing I want to really highlight, you said when you started going through those things, it does bring up depression and,
Yeah.
probably some anxiety, sleepless
Yes.
nights. And it's important, and I think is what I heard you say is when you are unpacking that bag or
Mhm.
when you digging it up,
Mhm.
make sure that you are around people that can help you
Yes. Yes.
because it can get ugly. It can
Yeah,
start to smell and get heavy. So
yeah. We the thing is we do need each other. We know it's so much
right.
going on out in the world. Yes, but that's called life too.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
again, I love what you said, Lee, about that support, and it
Mhm.
could be a family or friends. For me, it is, my ostomy community, and we're
Mhm.
able to share, and we're able to get advice, and
Yeah.
so I think that's very, very important. And maybe you might need somebody to help you dig out
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
baggage. It may not be their baggage, but it's their support. That's that support. That's
Right.
very important.
Right. I love that, Jillian, and I think it's helpful. And I know that what I found
Mhm.
and what I get so excited about our guests like you, Jearlean, and many of our other guests lined up, they are sharing their story. I want you to talk to us because it took me a while until I mean, I wrote all my books, like you said, right? You
Uh-huh.
write your books, but some people, I get so mad that people don't like to read. But but when I started this podcast,
Yes.
I found out, and you would be shocked that I found this out, and I want to talk to you about it. How did you feel when you found out that you weren't the only one? You
Now,
weren't the only one that's going through this.
now listen.
We're going through
I'm
something.
I'm gonna tell you, this is so crazy because even growing up, I never belonged to any support groups back then. Whether it was a
Okay.
cancer support group or ostomy support group, my support was my mama, my daddy, and my siblings, and
Yeah.
and the Lord. You
Yeah.
know, I'm telling you, for so long, I thought
Mhm.
I was the only person in the world that
Mhm.
had ostomy bags. I'm like, well, who do I talk to? Who do I go to?
Yeah.
Who can relate to me? And honestly,
Yes.
not until I was an adult that I came to find, different support groups and things like that. But again,
Yeah.
like, who do you turn to when, like, I felt like I'm like, I need somebody to talk to? I didn't go to a
Yeah.
therapist, and you got your brothers and your sisters,
Yeah.
but really, who can really help me, like, with my insecurities, and who can
Yeah.
help me feel like I want to be accepted? And you go
Yeah.
through elementary and middle school, and the kids, they don't understand. They could care less sometimes,
Right.
but who do I turn to? Where do I get that support from? And
Yeah.
and honestly, it really took some time. But I think also, Leah, it was kind of like also in my mind, right? The resources was out there, right? It really, really was. But like the enemy, like, he tries to use those things that will get you down, But what happened was, I
Yes.
started to share my story because as I was growing in Christ, I realized if I talk about it, the devil can't use it against me anymore.
Did everyone hear that?
Uh,
Can you just say it
Listen,
one more time?
Leah, share your testimony because the enemy can't use it against you anymore. He'll try, but
That's
listen,
true.
it's out there. It's in the atmosphere. Everybody knows, so you can't use that anymore. You got to try something else. Try
Right.
try something else. I'm not telling you to do it, but listen, the enemy is on his job 24/7. But listen,
Yes.
we serve a bigger God. We
Yes.
serve a bigger God, and listen, I just had to find that support, and it was God was like, tell it, and you tell it hurts. You tell it until it heals.
Yeah. Yep.
Like it.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Whew. Mm.
I
Yeah.
I feel this so strong. It's interesting. So I have 3 small children, and
Mm.
and they're always fighting, right? And especially, when one has a little dirt on you, right? And then I'm starting to notice this pattern, like, my older boy's always like pulling around the middle one, and telling, I'm gonna tell, I'm gonna
Uh,
tell. And at this point, I'm like, get over here. What's going on? And like the truth will set you free. And
yes.
even in adolescence and with us, Geraldine. So I feel that. So I literally have goosebumps when you were
Wow.
saying that.
Yeah.
because you said nothing but the truth. And you know what? Can I just zone in, because you mentioned this, but I can't find it, but I know what you said.
Mm-hmm.
You said something along the lines of your mindset. Talk to me about, just for those who are listening, who have got a bad diagnosis, who are struggling in their maybe marriage, struggling raising children,
Mm-hmm.
struggling just trying to find their purpose in life. How can my mindset keep me bound?
We have all types of thoughts in our mind, and we wonder, like, how can we get rid of it? Will it go away? But what we have to do is we have to feed ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be the word, whether it be something inspirational. I know it's something that I do, because listen, I wake up every day and everything is not peaches and cream, right? And so,
Yeah.
Leah, what I do is I journal write, for one thing, because what it does, it allows me to my thoughts to go on paper. And
Yeah.
it's like, oftentimes, sometimes it's like I'm writing to God. I'm telling him, hey, what's going on? This happened this day. And I'm truthful and I'm honest. And so I'm like, I'm writing to God, but I'm also writing how I feel, right? I have
Yeah.
different types of journals. This is crazy. I have a journal. It's a thankful journal. It's a grateful journal. I have a journal that I just want to just everything that's on my
I
mind, I want to put it there, right? Because
like
I'm
that.
getting it off my mind, and I'm kind of like placing it somewhere else. But also, you got to feed yourself like the Word of God. You know,
Yeah.
I'm in Bible study every Wednesday because I
Yeah.
need that word. Because the Bible says we have to renew our mind every day, constantly, right? But what are you
Yes.
feeding yourself? Who are you around? What are you reading? I'm on social media a lot, yeah, but what are you looking at on social media? Is it uplifting? All kinds of stuff is on that. We know that, right? But
Absolutely.
what are you really feeding your mind, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, Leah, we might have to get rid of people, places, and things, because it's
Mm.
just kind of bringing some thoughts that I don't want to think about. Because my pastor often say, oftentimes, you are who you hang around. Are you hanging around things that are positive? And we know there's not always going to be positive things around us, but we can change that, right?
Yeah.
So I try to just kind of feed my mind with different things. At home,
I love that.
I might be the post-it note queen, because I have post-it notes kind of the
That's
places
a
I
good
go to
idea.
most. The places I go to most in the house, which is the bathroom, the kitchen, and my bedroom. And so I just kind of have reminders. Do we need reminders? Now that my phone, I don't know where it came from, Leah, but it says journal. And you tap on that journal and you can actually write. It'll ask you some questions sometimes. It might pull up a picture and you'll speak about that picture, but it's all positive. It's all
Oh,
positive.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. God was like, okay, you and your phone all the time now. Let's. It just
Let's
kind
do
of
some.
popped up, honestly. I was like, where did this come from? I have so many apps in my phone, but
Yeah.
what it did for me was it kind of kept my mind kind of positive. I have family and
Yeah.
friends that's going through, and we're there for their support. We're praying for them, but oftentimes, sometimes when things go on around you, you take it on. And
Amen.
there it is again. It's in your mind. You're thinking about it, and so you have to change that, right? But there's
Yeah.
plenty of resources to do that, right? And we
Yeah.
want to, sometimes when so many things are going on in your mind, you get stuck there. You got to find those things that can change that. What is something that you do, or the viewers, what is something that you do to kind of keep your mind at ease, let's say,
Yeah.
right? What are you doing to keep your mind at ease? And it's
Yeah.
sometimes it's a struggle. It really, really is. I have a good friend that's going through some things right now, and it's like you
Mhm.
take on
All
what
of it.
they're going through, right? Then you got like, okay, Jearlean, I know they have this going on, but we got to get you back into that place. And listen, prayer works. Okay,
Yes.
prayer
Yes.
works. Ask God what you need to relieve your mind of what's going on, what's really going on in your mind.
Yeah. Because sometimes we don't know. I mean,
No,
I think
and
I
it's
seen a study. We have what, like 60,000 thoughts, or I don't remember the actual stat
listen.
of it. Our
Yeah,
mind is
it's
constantly racing.
yep, it's constantly going,
Yep.
and it's gonna be there. You have to feed your mind, and try to get those things, to a good place.
Yeah, I like that, Jearline, and I hope that helps some of our listeners. I do believe that we can take on other people's baggage, if you
Yeah,
will,
yeah,
and we don't need it. We don't need it. We don't have
right.
room. Jearline, I want to talk about your books. Pretty Girl Blues.
Yes.
When did you write that? Now you say you wrote that a
Actually,
while ago.
I wrote it. Yeah, I wrote it in what was published in 2013, but it
Okay.
took me at least, I know, Leah, probably 5 years to write it. Right.
Wow.
And really, and we were talking about journal writing. Pretty Girl
Yeah.
Blues started out as a journal. And what I
Oh.
did was, I think I was at a place where I was like, so much going on, so many thoughts, things that I didn't resolve when I was a teenager, when I was little. And so what I did was, I really honestly wrote about everything I ever felt.
Yeah.
About my sickness, about cancer, my ostomy bags. How did it affect my life?
Yeah.
Through, home, work, church,
Yeah.
marriage, now divorce. How did it just affect me? And I just kept writing and writing. And my previous first lady, she's passed away, but she
Yes.
taught me about journal writing. And she went back to the saying, I said, write until it hurts and write until it heals. And so
Mhm.
honestly, I was writing and crying, but what it turned out to be for me was healing. And if you think
Yeah.
about the title Pretty Girl Blues, pretty on the outside. And when you talk about blues kind of, it tells a story, right? And
Yeah.
so yeah, it was Pretty Girl Blues. But I wanted to change the blues of what I was feeling inside.
Yeah.
And it really, honestly, it really turned into healing for me. I was able to interview my brothers and sisters because we never talked
Mm.
about it when we were little. Parents is like, you stay in your
Mm.
place. And so
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
talked about how they felt. And so I interviewed them in the book. And some things I was very, very surprised. I have a twin sister. And
Okay.
I asked her the question, how did you feel growing up and, me being sick? And one thing, it really, really brought tears to my eyes. And she said, what
Yeah.
about me? Yeah.
Oh.
She said, what
Mhm.
about me? We never talked about, well, how did you feel? And how did you feel, brother? How did you feel, sister? My brother was like, one of my brothers was like, I knew you were sick and I knew you were going through some things, but I knew you would get better. So it was like different conversations.
Yeah.
So those things were in
Mhm.
the book. And so
Yeah.
it was not only probably healing for me, but maybe healing for them too. And maybe for
Yeah.
them to able to express how they really felt back then.
Yeah.
But that book turned into healing for me. And I know oftentimes people say with, your book and is it on the bestsellers list? And I say it's on
Yeah.
God's bestsellers list, okay?
Amen. Yeah. Yep. Yep. And she's like,
you
not
know,
yet.
yeah, not yet, right? And
Right.
so
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
was really a blessing. I know it took some years to write it, but again, it was that preparation, and I still had to
Yeah.
go through ups and downs and things like that. But it also helped me to write more too. And so
Yeah.
It started out as a journal, and I just turned into a 96-page autobiography.
And I love it, and I will be purchasing it. Jillian, where can we find it at?
Actually, so everything you can find on my website, www.jearleantaylor.com. So you can purchase
Perfect.
the book on there, and all kinds of stuff. Information is on there about me and what I do and things like that.
Okay, and I know you have amazing, beautiful documentary too that's on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yes,
I can
it's for
definitely
YouTube. Yeah.
leave
Thank
that in the
you.
description.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
No problem. It's very beautiful. So, Geraldine, before we leave and before we get out of here, I want you to leave our listeners with some advice. Leave them with something to take away. from this conversation and from listening to us during this episode?
Honestly, Leah, I just want to go back to really what we were talking about kind of in the beginning. And this is a statement that I always use pretty much everywhere that I go. And we did talk about it, and that is that you're not defined by your circumstances. You are more than, right? And that could be your circumstances, whatever you may be going through, sickness, disease, whatever it may be, you're more than that, right? Find out who you really are.
Yeah.
It might be scary a little bit, but and that's okay, right? I'm so very, very blessed, that God has given me a story to share. But I do want to say this to everybody. Everybody has a story to share.
Yes.
Everybody
Absolutely.
has a story, and you share when you're ready and when you're comfortable. But
Yeah.
believe me, someone needs to hear it.
Yes. Yes. Yes, Jearlean, that is so, so, so good. Thank you so much for leaving that with our audience. Thank you, Jearlean, for
Yeah.
coming here on our podcast, spending your time with us. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it. And just sharing your truth. And you said so many great things throughout this podcast and throughout this episode. And I'm glad you ended with, you are not your circumstances, and you are not the title that people put on you. So,
Yeah. Yes.
or that even you try to put on yourself. So
Yes.
I I love it. I love it. I love it. I thank you. I know you could have been anywhere. I'm so glad that you chose to come and share your story with us and Woman Witness Podcast, The Stories at the Well.
Yes.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'll close us out. So thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Woman Witness Podcast, The Stories at the Well. I'm your host, Leah Bordier. Until next time, perhaps you were chosen for such a time as this to write or to share your truth, your story. Until next time, bye.